Om Shanti. Om Shanti. Good evening, everyone. So let's start with a few minutes of meditation, and I will give you some thoughts. I want you to not just repeat them, but create visuals, right? Start visualizing. And with every thought, every visualization, there is a feeling. So try to see if you are able to experience that feeling. अ, सबको ये बताएं कि हिंदी में ट्रांसलेशन हो रहा है दोज ऑन जूम। तो ये हिंदी में ट्रांसलेशन हो रहा है। आप इंटरप्रिटेशन पर जाकर आप हिंदी चूज करिए एंड म्यूट ओरिजिनल ऑडियो करिए, तो आपको सिर्फ ट्रांसलेशन सुनाई देगा। अदरवाइज इंग्लिश और हिंदी दोनों सुनाई देगा। सो सिट वेरी कंफर्टेबली, टेक अ डीप ब्रेथ एंड लेट इट आउट। As I take these deep breaths, my body feels relaxed. I bring my attention in this present moment. For the next 45 minutes, I dedicate these next 45 minutes towards my self-care. This time is for my inner wellness, my inner well-being. I remind myself of who I am. I am energy. I am a being of peace. I am a being of love. I am a being of happiness. I am a being of purity. This is who I am. I, the being, create thoughts. I experience using this body. But I, the being, am separate from this body. My identity is separate. My name is not my identity. My religion is not my identity. The way my body looks is not my identity. My identity is that I'm an elevated being. Purity. I radiate purity through my eyes, through my face, through my words, through my actions. Om Shanti. Om Shanti. So last week we saw about thoughts and thinking, and we differentiated between what is thinking and what is thoughts. We saw the different types of thoughts, right? We have positive, negative, necessary, waste, and we have elevated thoughts. And we saw that elevated thoughts are not just thoughts based on virtues, but elevated thoughts are thoughts that are much higher frequency. These are thoughts that are beneficial for the self and for the world. So these are very high energy thoughts. And then our homework was to practice more and more of being aware of what kind of thoughts I'm creating, right? The other homework was to see, to check, am I, judging someone, or am I coming from a place of fact, right? Am I just taking someone for granted, or, just because what perception do I have of the other? And we saw that, when I change my awareness, when I change my attitude, when I change the way I look at things, when I perceive things differently, everything around me changes. My energy changes. So let's think of this example of, when we go to the temple, and, before entering the temple, usually people, they have this, they get these flowers and coconut, right? And they would take this inside into the temple. So while entering the temple, if someone asked them, what is it? What are you taking inside? What would you say? You would say, I'm taking flowers to offer, right? And once you go inside, you offer that. And when you come out, and if someone asks you, what is this? What would we say? We would say, this is prasad. This is the offering. So what changed? The flowers are the same. The coconut probably is half broken, right? Or maybe it's the same. But what changed? What changed is my attitude. the way I'm looking at it now. My feeling, my bhavna towards what was offered has changed. Now it's a deity idol, right? The idol, I offered this to the deity idol, and based on that offering, I call it a prasad. And when we have this as a prasad, as holy food being which was offered, we consider that this is divine now. Now think about it. We talk about the food being offered for divinity, but what about our thoughts? What thoughts are we creating? Someone had said very beautifully that a soul is the living deity or a living divine light in the temple of the body. We learn this in our Raj Yoga practice. Many a times, because we've been thinking ordinary, we've been performing ordinary actions, our life is quite ordinary. And we start feeling that, I create ordinary thoughts. And we start feeling that we don't have any value. We are just another person. But what we learn in spirituality is that even though we live in this world, we perform a lot of mundane actions. But if I perform those actions with an elevated awareness, all my actions become divine. Right? So, very important is what awareness do I carry with myself throughout the day. So, last week we spoke something about soul consciousness, and I wanted to touch on soul consciousness. So, this morning in class, we were discussing about oysters and pearls. Have you heard how pearls are formed? Do you know how a pearl is formed? So, what happens is when this little tiny particle, a sand particle or tiny particle, gets trapped in the oyster, it's a defense mechanism of the oyster that the oyster starts secreting, something, and it's like a defense mechanism, and that's how pearls are formed, right? So let's ask ourselves, what is my defense mechanism? What is our defense mechanism? When someone behaves a certain way with me, what is my defense mechanism? Do I immediately start creating negative thoughts about that person? Do I go around talking ill about that person? What do I do as my defense mechanism? Do I deny? Do I argue? Do I fight back? Do I behave the same way the other person is behaving? And that's usually what we do, right? If someone behaves mean, we will also become mean. If someone raises their voice and talks to us, we'll raise double, right? How will I not raise my voice? I want to prove a point. And even if I'm trying to prove my point, and even if what I'm trying to prove is true, what happens is the way that I'm speaking using my defense mechanism, which usually comes from body consciousness. So there are two terms, soul consciousness and body consciousness. So body consciousness is the awareness of this body. So every word, thought, action, whatever I'm speaking or I perform my actions, if I perform those actions with the awareness of who I am, like this, that I am Sonia, I am so and so, I am a doctor, I'm an engineer, I'm your boss, I'm the mother, I'm the. So if I'm performing, or if I'm in this consciousness of the body, my role, my title, right? My age sometimes, my experience, that's body consciousness. So when someone behaves a certain way with us, our instant, what is our instant reaction? It's immediate body consciousness. So when I check what is my defense mechanism, my defense mechanism is actually off body consciousness, right? Something, because what happens is when someone says something which is not true, or even if it's true, what happens? We feel bad, because what is affecting? It's affecting my role or my identity that I thought I was, or what I think I am. Now, if someone is saying something to me based on my false identity, then that person doesn't know me at all. And why should I even feel bad about it? Or why should I feel hurt about it? The person doesn't know who I am. So when we talk about, we started with self care last week. And, this month, the month of April, is actually is the month of stress awareness month. So today, actually, at our workplace, we did a wellness program on stress management. So we discussed what is stress, and while driving, I was thinking that actually stress is nothing but my defense mechanism, which is not used correctly. Right? It's it's just overthinking sometimes. It's feeling hurt, taking too personally, right? Little things. And nowadays, even the word stress is so lightly used. Everybody is talking about stress so lightly. Everybody uses stress. The doctors say, oh, this is happening. Oh, maybe stress. For everything, stress. And the other thing that is very lightly used is depression, right? And that's a whole different topic. Maybe we can talk about it later, maybe next week or the week after. Um, but coming back to stress, what is stress? Stress is overthinking. Stress is creating a large quantity of thoughts in a short time. That's stress. In physics, in high school physics, we learn, right? What is stress? Is force on area, right? A certain force or pressure created on a given area. That's called stress. Now, the other factor that we don't consider is the quality of the material on which I'm applying the force, right? So, say if I'm applying a force on a plastic versus wood, the same amount of force, the plastic will break, but the wood will not break as easily, right? Why? Of course, the material is different. But what happens with the difference of material is their properties are different. And because each of these materials have a different property, their resistance to force is different. Okay. So wood has a higher resistance than plastic, right? So each one of us, as these conscient beings of love, being of peace, right? All of us as souls, as energy, we all have. So energy can neither be created nor destroyed. So we are not physical beings. We are, soul is energy, and it's a metaphysical energy. We can't see through these eyes. We can't feel it. We can't touch the soul. So, of course, the material of all of us is the same. as energy. But what is different is our property, which is basically our qualities. So some of us could be more peaceful, less loving, more tolerant, less right happy. So we all have like these different proportions of the virtues and vices. And that's why our properties are different. And that's why each one of us will respond or react to stress differently. Are you with me? Right? Each one of us will react or respond to stress differently. So if I have less strength, I will blast. But if I have more, more flexibility, more strength, more power, right, more understanding, I'll know, okay, yeah, let me not blast. I can do it this differently. So our resistance is nothing but a defense mechanism, right? So when I come from a place of soul consciousness means I am responding based on knowledge, understanding, wisdom, experience, peace, love, tolerance. Right? So I'm coming from a place of virtues. I'm able to put myself in your shoe and understand that, okay, I'm able to give you the benefit of doubt and not just judge you on the face that, oh, this one is always like that. Sometimes you say, always like that. We're not even giving them the slightest benefit of doubt that, oh, it's not always. It's, maybe 80% of the time, right? 8 out of 10, but at least 2 times they behave differently. So, very easily and conveniently, we start labeling people. So, a good checking is for the coming week, if you like doing homeworks. So, a good checking would be check, do I label people? Sometimes we label people, this one is always like this. They always get angry. They're always so irritating, or they are irritated. I am so scared to talk to them. They're always like this. When I approach someone with that consciousness, what will I get back? Of course, I'll get back the same consciousness. So if I really want a very different reaction from someone, I have to approach them with a different consciousness, right? It's just like, when we sow seeds, we sow a basil plant there, we sow the seeds of a basil plant. We can't expect rose to come out of it. So whatever seeds we sow, that is what will come out. So my thoughts, my consciousness towards a person will determine my relationship with that person, will determine what I'm receiving from that person, right? So very important for us to pay attention. So I wanted to show actually a picture of a tree, the tree of consciousness. So okay, before that, let's just touch base upon, we saw thoughts as thought is also energy. Every thought has a feeling, right? So can we say that for the seed of consciousness is a thought, right? And can we say that whatever thought I create, so a seed, once the seed germinates, it gets the right temperature, right soil, right water, sunlight, everything, the seed will start germinating and slowly form a tree. So based on my consciousness, I can actually create a tree of body consciousness or a tree of soul consciousness. Okay. So I wanted to share these pictures with you. So let's look at this one. So let's first look at the tree of body consciousness. So here's the tree. Can you see this tree? Can you see this tree? Show me a thumbs up if you can. Yeah? Okay. So in this tree, you can see, just a second. So in this tree, what you see is there's a seed and then the whole tree. So this is the tree of attitudes from seed of body consciousness. So when we have body consciousness or the attitude of body consciousness, that means my false identity of who I am, I will have attachment, I will have impatience, I will have ego, irresponsibility, confusion, greed, disrespect, pride, fear, stress, of course, jealousy, lust, all of this, right? So so now what we are going to check is throughout my day, which tree am I watering? Am I watering the tree of body consciousness or am I watering the tree of soul consciousness? And let's look at the tree of soul consciousness now. So this is the tree of soul consciousness. Can you see? This is the tree of soul consciousness. So when I have positive tendencies, the attitude of who am I and who is everybody else. Just as I am a soul, so is everyone else. So there is love, there is self respect of who I am, and there is respect towards others too. There is mercy, there's patience, there's humility, there's cooperation, there's benevolence, there's contentment, cleanliness, lightness. So this is the tree. So what we will check is for this 1 week, I'm going to check whether which tree am I watering? Am I watering the tree of body consciousness or am I watering the tree of soul consciousness? Because whichever tree I will water, that tree will grow. And what is the meaning of watering? The meaning of watering is what am I using more and more in my everyday? So if I'm using anger, if I'm using ego, if I'm using, disrespect, if I'm using pride, if I'm using all of that, then that tree will grow. Body consciousness is growing inside me. But if I start using virtues, right? I use more love, I use knowledge, I use understanding, I use benevolence, I use self respect. then I'm growing the soul conscious tree. So can we check this entire week? We'll check which tree is growing inside of me. Is it the tree of body consciousness or is it the tree of soul consciousness? And if I catch that it is the tree of body consciousness that's growing inside, what will I do? I'll quickly change the seed, which is the thought, right? Quickly change the thought and switch to soul consciousness. It's not very easy, but it's not very difficult either. It just needs attention. It needs that constant attention because many a times we get so occupied with doing certain things, we lose the attention. So it just needs that attention. Okay. So this will be our homework for this week. So ask yourself this question: what is your defense mechanism? What do you want to use as a defense mechanism? Do you want to use the negativity, the vices as your defense mechanism? Or do I want to use virtues or positivity as my defense mechanism? Because when I use virtues as my defense mechanism, or the positivity, I can actually create pearls of knowledge. But if I'm using vices as my defense mechanism, I don't create anything. No? So, very important for self care, for healing the self, I need to know myself. I need to know what is my defense mechanism, what do I use throughout the day. On a very superficial level, none of us, no one here would ever want to use vices, right? We'll say that I don't want to use the vices, but what to do? They just come. They come because I keep letting them come. But the moment I start stopping and I say, hey, what, no. So say something happens and you start feeling that irritation, you start feeling, catch yourself right there. It's like nip it in the bud and then change it with a thought based on knowledge, right? Any thought based on any of our sessions, right? Change it into that, use that thought. And what will happen is automatically my whole energy will shift. And what will grow inside me is the confidence and faith that yes, I can do it. See, right now we start thinking that, oh, is it really? Can I do it? I don't know if I can. Is because I have not created any experience. I have not created a story for myself where I say, yes, I did it. I know how to do it. So let's take up that practice of checking and changing. Hmm? So do I use soul consciousness? Do I use body consciousness? Am I feeding the tree of soul consciousness? Am I feeding the tree of body consciousness? Am I using soul consciousness as my defense mechanism? Am I using body consciousness as my defense mechanism? There's a very famous saying, right? Truth doesn't need to be proven. And we start yelling when we are saying something true because I want to prove my point, right? We say the truth, but how I say it is so very important. So use soul consciousness to speak the truth. Because what happens is, with the right consciousness, with the right energy, I'm creating the right vibration. And with that right vibration, when I speak something, it reaches. Okay. So we'll take that homework. Okay. So let's go into meditation. Unless you have any question, you can raise your hand and ask your question, or you can write it in chat. So Let's go within. So we'll have an outside in approach. So first, one by one, look at your sense organs. What are you listening to? What do you see? What do you smell at this moment? What are you sensing at this moment? I slowly take my attention within. I take my attention over this body, the organs of the body, the blood flowing through this body. And slowly, I take my attention to who am I, the observer, the master of this body. I'm the one who feels. I'm the one who experiences. I'm the one who creates thoughts. I'm the one who decides and discerns. I'm the soul, the driver of this body. I choose between good and bad, between right and wrong. My inherent qualities are of the virtues of peace, of love, of purity, contentment, of honesty, of benevolence. Today, I create this determined thought of checking, do I use soul consciousness or am I trapped in using body consciousness? which is my false identity of what I've been telling myself. I choose soul consciousness. I create thoughts based on the virtues. And this is how I transform my attitude and my personality. Om Shanti. Om Shanti. Okay. Thank you. I think there are a few on YouTube who joined directly. Thank you for joining. Do you have any question? You can message in the chat if you have any questions or raise your hand. Okay. So till I see you next, I'll share the YouTube recording with everyone so you can listen to your homework again and check what you need to practice during this week. So have a great week. Om Shanti. Good night. Bye. Bye. Om Shanti.